It's the time for the package from China. Let's go. Welcome back to the channel. It's awesome that you're tuning in. So in this video we are going to take a close look at the PlayStation 2 Slim from AliExpress. Also comes with the name PEP 2. So this is a lineup of all-in-one emulation retro game consoles from AliExpress. They come in different form factors, but this one in particular I find it quite interesting. Complete with 2 controllers, but it plays everything but PlayStation 2. Yeah, that makes more like the most wicked part of it. So the PEP 1, I have reviewed it, and also having like the PEP K handhelds, I think they have nothing to do with each other. Like these namings on AliExpress are like ridiculous and it makes no sense whatsoever. So I already told you like briefly, like this thing doesn't play any PlayStation 2 games, that is how it goes, but it plays a lot of different ones. And yeah, I'm curious how good emulation is. I was surprised with the previous model that was basically a plug and play console. And will this thing have some decent emulation or will it be crappy? So over here we're going to get the system itself. At the bottom we're going to get the 2 controllers. What I find surprisingly that we're going to get actually like original PlayStation 2 connections. That is something I have personally never seen before. Normally it's just always like USB. We're going to get ourselves the barrel jack to USB connection. So I'm guessing this thing will use 5 volts. There is no power supply. Then we're going to get an HDMI because it has HDMI. Then we're going to get the toilet paper model with product specifications. And this thing is really tiny, doesn't have a lot of information. It does explain how the mini SD function works, so that is quite interesting. And of course, safety notice. And here we're going to get ourselves a piece of cardboard and the SD card. Let's see what we're going to get with the SD card, how many gigabytes. In total we're going to get 64 gigabytes, that is quite fancy. But let's plug it in, let's see what we can do with this device. But first, what are we going to get with the PEP K or PEP 1 or... the names! Ugh. Alright, so let's do a quick unboxing, but I also want to do a side-by-side comparison. So I will grab myself a PlayStation 2 Slim later on. I just want to do a comparison for you guys. So at the front we're going to get 2 connections, original PlayStation. Off the front we're going to get the SD card, reset, power, and there is no flap or you cannot put in a memory card. It comes with this very nice glossy black color. At the back we're going to get nothing really special. We're going to get the input for the power supply. Then we're going to get the HDMI connection at the back, and we're going to get a jack out. And I'm guessing we can use this thing for AV out. There is no cable for it. Also going to do a tear down, but let's get ourselves the cable and all the other stuff. Because, is it the same like the PlayStation 1 Slim? Alright, so the controller itself. The first thing, the wicked smelly test. Oh! So this thing was really chemical. So it has an original connection, but I don't know if the original one is. I'm missing out the pin over here, so quite interesting. So this thing feels really cheap. I think there's not even rumble in it. Like it even has this like very weird feeling to the joysticks. The D-pad feels very sturdy. But later on we will see if we can actually play with this thing and we can play some fighting games. Alright, so next up let's try a game and just wanted to see how good or bad this D-pad is. So the D-pad feels really sturdy and cheap, but it seems to be like working after all, so I'm surprised. So and the same goes for the analog stick. So the controllers, they are like chemical and they are not the best I have seen, but they're responsive. So I give them some extra kudos for that. Okay, so let's do a side-by-side comparison with the original controller and the PlayStation 2. Absolutely, there are a lot of different resemblance to the 2 systems, but it is not a one-on-one copy. You can see like there are a lot of minor things changed. For example, there is no PlayStation logo, of course. And when we're going to do a PlayStation 2 sandwich comparison, then you can see like there are some differences, but also the casing in general is exactly the same. Let's see, so you can see the controller ports are slightly different positioned, but the memory card slot are exactly the same. Okay, when you're looking at the front, you can also see like the power button and the reset or ejection, doesn't even matter which button, they are like in the same position. So that's a quite interesting one. But let's do a side-by-side comparison from the side, and here you can see quite some differences. So over here at the right, we can see there is a difference. But in overall, I find it quite interesting that they try to copy the PlayStation 2 Slim this way. Okay, so let's take a close look at the weight of the PlayStation 2 the Slim from AliExpress. In total it weighs 295 grams. So let's get ourselves the original one. So the original one weighs 803. So basically it's a lot of plastic fantastic with the fake edition in combination with a lot of air in the inside. And when you take a close look at the controllers, the mold itself is, I would say, almost the same, but the quality of the original control of the Sony cannot be defeated. Like the cheap controllers, the chemical ones from China are like freaking awful. We're also going to see if we can use an original controller on the system. Okay, so I just wanted to show you the system has been booted up. Here you can see it works fine with the cheap China controller or the cheap controller. Let's get ourselves an original one, and surprise surprise, it seems to be working. Fits in way better than the Chinese one. And you can see we can even play this with an original PlayStation 2 controller, so that is much better. Okay, so let's boot up the system itself, and first we're going to get the magical intro music. Hey, drop it in the comments if you know where this is from, because that is what we call retro. Okay, well let's take a close look at the menu at first, because I just wanted to see what we're going to get with this. And let's do a quick overview of the menu, what you can do with it. Take consideration, there is no way of getting into the menu, change out emulator, stuff like that. This is just plug and play. So the big list is just the messy list, like everything has been slapped in one list. I don't like it at all. Pressing the shoulder button, you go to the type, or in other words, platforms. This thing plays everything but PlayStation 2, how funny that it actually is. So PlayStation 1, they get some arcade, Neo Geo, NES, so let's say 8-bit, Game Boy, 16-bit. So there's a lot of stuff this thing can actually play. Later on we'll test out if the PlayStation 1 will run fine, because that would be the benchmark for today's video. History, favorites, search results. The search results are kind of interesting, because here we're going to get the options to choose your game. It's kind of clunky, so let's say I want to search for Mortal Kombat. You need to press left and then down, and then we're going to get to the left menu. Kind of weird, but the weird thing is, like, we have multiple Mortal Kombat games, but how do you know which game is what? So here at the right top you can see when changing between the titles, it says here PlayStation 1, Game with Advance, and there we can see what kind of games we're going to get. Another option I really like about is when you're just pressing start, you basically put a star behind it, and then we're going to get to the favorites, and here we can get the favorite list. I can also remove them fairly easy. So that is just an option. It's super basic, but it seems to be working just fine. Okay, when pressing select and start in a game, you're going to get back to the quick load and quick save menu, where you also have the option to restart the game, go exit, save and load. Every single game has a couple of save slots over here, so quite interesting. Then we're going to get the key settings, where you can change out for play 1 and play 2. Video scaling, sadly there is no aspect ratio. The only thing we're going to get is scanline, fast and smooth. The only thing what it is, like the normal, the smooth filtering and the scanline. Kind of weird how they say it, like it's fast. Fast like Sonic the Hedgehog. So when it comes to the arcade stuff, we cannot play Killer Instinct. I didn't see Mortal Kombat, and that is highly possible because these things are not powerful enough. What you're going to get in the inside is most of the time nothing really special. And somehow I will keep using my supers. But the gameplay is quite smooth when it comes to the arcade stuff. So we can play this on a freaking potato, but oh man, like navigating through this game with the D-pad is freaking awful. So you can play fighting games, but it is freaking annoying when you need to play some beat 'em ups and shmups. So mostly of the time I will play with the analog stick, but of course we're having the option to play with the original controller from PlayStation 2. So that's, in my opinion, quite awesome. Okay, next up let's try another arcade game. I'm skipping to my original controller because the controller can be played with fighting games. I'm just going to be honest, like it's absolutely not a good experience. Nothing beats an original controller. And also this runs pretty damn smooth. I'm just using the original, no pixel filter whatsoever, not all the bullshit. Personally I don't like it at all. Okay, so next up let's try some Super Nintendo, and I find the game running okay, and everything looks kinda choppy. And I think the main reason is not because it's stretched out, because the emulators are running on such a weird resolution. I have noticed it with other emulators. It doesn't. Also, the system itself doesn't run on full HD. Next up, let's try some Sega Mega Drive, or Genesis known by many of you. But seems like they finally nailed it. And I got slapped in the face. All the sound effects are here, no weird delays whatsoever. Okay, so I wanted to boot up PlayStation 1, and sadly this thing doesn't run on very high resolution. Of course, in combination with the stretch, that doesn't do this thing any good. But you can see with the selection screen that this thing has like a gigantic lag in the audio. And that is the part that I don't like with these devices. You cannot change it out. Maybe it's a minor setting they can just tweak. But in my opinion, they completely messed it up. For the gameplay itself, you can see that even I don't need an FPS counter to see that the game runs on very nice FPS. Alright, so next up let's try a different game just to see how the performance is this time, because we can see sometimes with different games that we're going to get different performance, but also the next game that we're going to try now doesn't have any negative effect when it comes to the gameplay. Alright guys, so let's do a quick teardown. I just wanted to see what's inside this fake PlayStation 2 Slim from AliExpress. So I would not be surprised there is almost nothing inside beside of the weight of the device. Also, like I have reviewed the previous model that was basically in game stick. So if they can basically get this thing in a game stick, they don't need a casing like this. So I don't know why they even like get this PlayStation 2 Slim case. I have no idea why they would do this. Alright, all the screws have been removed, and here you can see like the top part is getting loose over here. Right, so basically this thing only has two freaking shells. So this is the only thing that we're going to get in the inside. So let's get the screws at the side and let's do a quick overview of the device. Okay, so let's take a close look at this side. So here we're going to get the two controller ports. Then over here the SD card slot that has been an own separate ribbon cable that basically connects to the main board over there. And the same goes for the controller port. But then we're going to get ourselves the main board. And here there are some interesting things. But the thing that it doesn't have is basically some normal cooling. But let's take a close look at this over here. What does it say and what kind of chip? I must say that I have seen this chip before, but I did some googling and I couldn't find any information whatsoever. Here you can see like the chip itself is the ATM 6039 ST, like a weird Terminator from the future. So I'm guessing this thing only has 1 gig of RAM or something like that, because there was an option for 2, but nope, they didn't do that. And I would not be surprised this thing doesn't have any storage capacity from itself. It's just basically what you're going to get is the CPU, GPU and the RAM memory. And basically what it uses is the SD card for his storage capacity. But the funny thing is to show you, like over here we can see like it says here PEP2 2021. So this thing is quite new, and yeah, it has been completely redesigned when it comes to the PCB, especially for this product. Okay guys, so let's get back to the controller board. So the controller board also says PEP2, so this board has been specially made for the PEP2 game console. Here we're going to get SD, says over here, but seems to be this thing they called the USB ports. Yeah, since when this is USB ports. Made in 2021. Okay, and the last part is a very tiny PCB. Basically what it does is for connection for the reset key and the power key. And also the same story goes for this. This PCB is specially made for this machine. Right guys, so this is what we're going to get when it comes to the PlayStation 2 Slim from AliExpress. I find it a quite interesting piece of technology. I think the reason this thing doesn't play PlayStation 2 because the chips they are making over there or using are like low power chips, and they are not like fast enough or powerful enough to run PlayStation 2. But in overall up to PlayStation 1 it is possible, but you did see like PlayStation 1 has some audio issues, a little bit of a bummer, like these mistakes they're making with these devices. That basically, in my opinion, it loses the fun. But in overall, good performance. I was surprised to see how good this thing has for the money. But let me know in the comments what do you think of this. I want to thank you for watching. Consider subscribing, hit that little bell, become one of the Wicked family. And I will see you in the next video.